Chapter 5.555, The Tree. The following day, Escher was led to the dungeons. Poor Jax couldn't help crying. We all felt so badly for her, but there was nothing we could do. We had to go to lessons on magic that we didn't understand, and to make things even worse, Theevil suspended all magic in the school, so everyone's lessons were a complete waste of time because no one could use magic anyway, not even the teachers. Everyone hated us, of course. Theevil told them that we were enemies of the school. We spent so much time in the corridor or outside, in trouble for doing nothing wrong. It was really bad. All the Christmas decorations were hidden so that no one could decorate any of the classrooms or the dining hall. There was an air of despair everywhere. Every night we plotted about how we could rescue Arthur, Blizzard, Asmax and Escher. But none of our ideas got wings. It was as if the dankness of the gloom outside had begun to fill our hearts. Even Jax admitted that she felt like giving up. It was a very dark time. 2 days before Christmas, Amos the cleaner found a funny old tree growing in a broken pot. He said he'd found it in the home of an old person who'd died. The contents of the home were being given away, so Amos brought the tree to Mudfog and put it in the dining hall. At first we were terrified that Theevil would throw one of his tantrums, but when he didn't say anything, we started to make decorations for the tree. We used old paper and anything we could find. We tied our decorations to the tree with bits of old string and some people sacrificed their shoelaces. Even the cook, Mrs. Clattermaster, gave us some used cooking foil so that we could make stars. The foil was brown from all the roasts it had seen, but it was still a bit shiny, so we gratefully accepted it. We felt so proud of the tree, even though it was kind of a wreck. There'd be no feast, we knew that, but we all felt the tiniest bit of happiness to remember that it was Christmas. On the actual day, Theevil and Invictus walked into the common room just before dinner. We could tell that Theevil was in a stinking temper. His face was glowering, and he always walked with a slight stoop when things weren't going well. When he turned to look at us, his eyes caught sight of the Christmas tree behind the door. It wasn't that beautiful, but for each of us it had become a symbol of hope. I'll never forget the look on Theevil's face as he pondered the Christmas tree. It was as if he'd been given the chance to do the most horrible thing, and he couldn't wait to do it. His eyes opened wide, his face creased into a terrible smile, and he walked over to the tree. "Who is responsible for this?" he asked, looking at the smallest children in the room. Jem couldn't help herself. "Amos the cleaner found the tree," she said. "Don't you love it, sir?" "Love it?" asked Theevil in his crisp, mean voice. "Love it? I do." And then Theevil walked over to the tree. "Who made these decorations, if that's what you call them?" "We did," said Jem, running across the room to be closer to the tree. "Aren't they wonderful?" "It needs something on top," said Theevil. "Don't you think it needs something on the top?" "We couldn't reach it, sir," said Jem, her eyes wide and trusting. "But you can. Could you put the angel on the top?" Jem handed Theevil a weird little angel that she'd made with 6. "Oh, yes," said Theevil, taking the angel carefully. "I think I can reach the top of the tree. Let me see." Theevil put his hand up past all the stars made from brown foil and grasped the very top, and then with one swift move he dragged the tree down, put his foot near its trunk and snapped it off, leaving only a jagged bit of tree poking out of the pot. Everyone in the room gasped because Jem was so shocked She started to cry and asked Theevil if she could have her angel back. Instead of giving it to her in his fury, Theevil held the poor little thing up high and ripped its wings off one by one. Then he handed the tree and the broken angel to Amos and said, "Burn them and don't bother coming back. You're fired." Turning to all of us, Theevil roared, "Now get back to your tables, and if you're lucky, I'll still let you have some food." Chapter 5.5555 Christmas Gifts. Six and Jem burst into tears, and Jem asked, "But where will we put our Christmas gifts if we don't have a tree?" "Yes," said Six, "where will we put them?" Theevil glared at everyone and then fixed his eyes on the two little girls who were dressed as boys. "Christmas gifts," he shouted. "There are not going to be Christmas gifts for any of you. None. You know that. For the last time, Christmas is cancelled." Jem tripped over as she moved away from Theevil. As she fell to the ground, she started sobbing. Theevil pounced on her and dragged her to her feet. "Boys do not cry," he roared. "Yes, they do," shouted Six. "Go to your room," said Theevil in his most sinister voice. "You go to your room," said Six. I felt terrified of what might happen next, so I jumped up and stood between Six and Theevil. "She's only shocked," I said. I mean, he's only shocked. It's his first year without his parents." No one dared to breathe. We all waited to see what would happen. And it was the strangest thing. Theevil did nothing. It was as if he'd forgotten all about Six and the tree and Jem and firing Amos the cleaner. He moved to the head of the main dining table and sat down as if everything was fine. That was the terrifying thing about Theevil. You didn't know what he'd do next. He'd lose his temper 1 minute, and then he'd act as if nothing had happened, nothing at all. We all stared at Theevil, terrified. "What's wrong with you lot?" he asked. "We're not having a Christmas tree, that's all." We all looked down, knowing that Theevil's mood could change at any moment. Invictus was standing next to Theevil, looking proud. "Merry Christmas," he said in a nasty voice. How I hated him. Such a traitor.